This is the Enjoyer Podcast. I'm your host, James Dixon.
If I say make Michigan great again, you probably think back to your childhood. Everything was simpler then. Everything seemed better than it does now. Even when you later learn that this was all an optical illusion, engineered by your parents and loved ones, you still look back on those times fondly. Michigan was great when you were free. When snow days involved actual snowfall. When you watched the ticker on the TV news screen, hoping to see your school district mentioned. When Dad worked at a tool and die shop, not at Walmart until his dying days. But if I say make Michigan healthy again, the picture gets blurry. Your first instinct is a natural one, to ask if and when we were ever healthy. Don't get sidetracked on that. The Enjoyer Podcast is reality-based, yes, but it's also aspirational. Make Michigan healthy again is an idea, and it's one we should take seriously. Whether it's lugging bales of hay at a farm, picking up chicks at Jobby Nooner, or working a double shift at a plant, the Michigan lifestyle entails and involves a certain physicality. We're not book nerds here. Outside of Hillsdale and parts of Ann Arbor, we generally don't live the life of the mind. We're a physical people in Michigan. Then in 2020, 5 years ago, we forgot who we are. We were furnished with an excuse to show fear, a global pandemic. And we did show fear. Go look back at the shutdown Michigan hashtag in March 2020, and you will see grown men and grown women begging our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, to lock the state down. In 2020, we did not send our bravest. We asked Governor Barbie to just do something. And just like that, we were reminded why God didn't want Israel to have a king. Why he thought men of judgment were a better option. Kings operate on whims. They close seed sections even as their husbands ask to cut the line to put the family boat in the water. 5 years later, you know better than to ask for a king. But let's talk about why you did it then. You were scared, and you wanted your fear to be state-sanctioned. Here was a virus that we didn't have a pill for. We didn't have a shot for. Guess the only thing we can do is panic. So you did panic. You asked for a king, and you got the leadership of a king. And it was fear that drove you. Make Michigan healthy again is about getting back to basics. It's about getting so active and being so active and staying so active that we can shovel the snow without having a heart attack. Every time you read those stories, they're generally fake news. Men don't get heart attacks because they shovel snow. They get heart attacks because they're inactive before they shovel the snow. And so if you're a man and you're listening and you're a protector and a provider for your family, I'd ask you this. Are you protecting your ability to provide for them? Are you doing everything you can to be here 10 years from now, 20, 30? During COVID, our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, said that America needed a national plan for the virus. In fact, as Michigan's Auditor General would later report, 97% of the money Michigan spent during COVID actually came from the federal government. 5 years later, you see the truth. We didn't need a national plan for COVID, or a state plan, or a city plan. We didn't need one plan that covers 300 million people, or the 10 million people of Michigan. We need 10 million plans in Michigan. We need 300 million plans nationwide. So make Michigan healthy again. It's a great slogan. It's a great sentiment. But at the heart of it is, you still have to do the work. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's magic wand can't keep you safe from viruses, opioids, or bullets. And I hope you know that by now. My guest today is Christine Trimpe. Trimpe has walked the path we all need to toward a healthy life. She had one foot in the grave before asking God to dig her out. Trimpe is an author. She's one of our neighbors. She's a Michigan woman who had a revelation at the Rocky Mountains. She was 48 at the time. She was celebrating her 25th wedding anniversary with her husband, and she was too fat to climb the mountain with him. After all that time together, Christine had to watch her husband climb high and was unable to join him. And if you know anything about relationships, when this starts happening and you're moving in different directions, that's a problem. She tells the story on her website, ChristineTrimpe.com. Trimpe says she felt desperate in that moment, and in that desperation called out to God. She prayed, God, I just want to feel better. I'm so tired of this heaviness in my life. Since then, God has relieved her of that heaviness. Since that prayer, Trimpe has lost 100 pounds, and now she's leading others on their own health journeys. Christine, thank you for taking the time for joining me today on the Enjoyer podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. That was very powerful and gets right to the heart of everything that's on my heart to share with the world.
Absolutely. Christine, we'll start you here. What do you enjoy about Michigan?
Oh, I do enjoy the four seasons of Michigan. I enjoy the heart of being a Metro Detroiter. My father was a career person with General Motors. There's so much I enjoy about Michigan. I enjoy the cars. I enjoy living a block off of Woodward for Woodward Dream Cruise. And I just love that my immediate family still lives here and that we have called Michigan home for 5 decades now.
Holy cow. You know, and that's what always strikes me when I ask people what they enjoy about Michigan. Almost everyone mentions at some point family. And so that's kind of the sad thing about our little one-state diaspora that we have here and the brain drain and all that, is that every single time those college kids leave, they feel they love their families as much as we do, but they're forced to leave them. And that's almost sad.
Yes.
Christine, tell me about your health journey. Even just in reading it, you can feel the sadness. It just permeates off the piece of you being unable to join your husband in climbing the Rocky Mountains.
Yes.
Tell us what happened that day and what happened next.
Yeah, that was a day of pure reflection. And I know that I can call that my turning point day. Everything that happened that day, I did have such a heaviness that when I watched my husband go on without me up that mountain trail at Nymph Lake at Rocky Mountain National Park, I sat on a stump on the side of the path. I had a defeating conversation in my mind as I watched other hikers go past me. I just knew in my heart that they were making fun of me and saying things like, well, if she just ate less and moved more, she'd be able to climb this hike, right?
Sure.
Well, so I did say that little prayer, like, Lord, I just want to feel better. Because in that moment, I had been overweight, eventually morbidly obese for 30 years. I'd been on this yo-yo dieting cycle for 30 years because I had been trying the same thing over and over again with the same lack of results.
So that's 18 to 48.
Yes.
Your whole adult life.
Yes, it was. I
Wow.
went away to college and I'm more than the cliche. You know how they say that you'll gain the freshman 15? Right. I came home with the freshman 40.
Oh,
so
boy.
That's really when my weight struggles began, was, eating in the cafeteria at Adrian College, not blaming the cooks there or anything, but, that I came home with that. And in hindsight, now I know that I have this very intolerant metabolism to carbohydrates and sugar and the standard American diet. So yeah, just sitting on that side of the mountain, I felt defeated. But I also, for some strange reason, James, I snapped a selfie of myself sitting there on that stump. And I was like looking up at those big, tall aspen trees. And I was looking up at the Lord and I'm just like, you are my only hope. You have to help me. Because I was facing my mortality. At 48 years old, I'm sitting there thinking, am I going to meet my grandchildren? And I am blessed that my children still live here in Michigan, very close to me. So when that does happen, I want to be a fit and healthy grandmother for them. So all these thoughts are going in my mind. I came home from that mountain trip with a new resolve settled in my heart. And I did something that was my first medical intervention that I put off for at least 10 years. I was a chronic snorer. So I set up a sleep study. I came home with the CPAP machine, which is the reason I never wanted to go to have a sleep study.
Right.
But that first medical intervention was really the thing that changed my life. So I'm very grateful I did that. And waking up refreshed every day, I started picking up my Bible for the first time in my life every single day. And that's truly what changed my life. And I 100% believe that God guided me step by step on this quitting sugar journey to losing 100 pounds and regaining my life.
Now, why was it so important for you in that moment to ask God for help? Why didn't you just call Jenny Craig?
Yeah, James, I never tried Jenny Craig, but let me tell you, I lost track of how many times I signed up for Weight Watchers. I did the Medical Weight Loss Center, and believe it or not, I drank nothing but protein shakes for 10 months at the Beaumont Weight Loss Clinic.
Months?
And 10 months.
Almost a year of your life?
Yes. And I did lose a significant amount of weight. I did not get quite to the 100-pound weight loss mark at that time. But once they started putting me on whole foods again, they reintroduced potatoes, sweet potatoes, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta. And the weight started coming back on, and I was devastated. And so that, like, looking back at that, I wish I had every single penny back from that adventure, because it was really defeating, and it really crushed my soul to have spent so much time being so adherent, not cheating once, and then as soon as whole food was introduced again, my weight started going up.
It's like, excuse me for eating.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But now I know it was because I was being reintroduced to the standard advice of a plate filled with 65% carbohydrates, 60 to 65% carbohydrates. I'm carbohydrate intolerant as someone with metabolic dysfunction, insulin resistance. I really need to limit my carbohydrates to be able to maintain a healthy weight. And so that's how I coined the Sugarfreed way of life, because once I came home and got that CPAP machine, started waking up refreshed, then I had other health issues in my life. I started having painful abdominal pain. Doctor ordered an abdominal ultrasound. I was diagnosed with fatty liver disease, which wasn't the cause of the pain. Fatty liver disease is you don't typically have symptoms for that. But the fatty liver disease was really what piqued my curiosity, and I needed to understand why my liver was full of fat. And so I went down many rabbit holes of research, discovered that sugar was the reason, and that sugar is a major hormone disruptor. And as someone with pre-diabetes and insulin resistance, I really needed to get my hormonal health balanced out.
Now let's put some years on this.
Okay.
When was it when you were at the Rockies? Over what time span do you lose the 100 pounds?
Okay. All right. So I was in the Rockies in September of 2015. And that was the year that I also weighed my heaviest and came home from that trip. And in March, so came home from that trip, September 2015, got diagnosed with fatty liver disease in early December 2015. And it took me 3 months to finally make the decision that, okay, the sugar's got to go. And so on March 10th, 2016, I started my quitting sugar journey. And that was quitting sugar as like the sweet stuff, the sweet stuff, like the brownies, the candy, stuff sitting around my corporate office. And for 10 months, I did that. I started feeling really good, started feeling a lot better, had more energy, but I wasn't losing a lot of weight because I was still eating bread, whole wheat pasta, potatoes,
Right.
things like that I didn't realize that as soon as those hit my digestive system, they were turning into sugar. And I needed to really be, careful about that, even that type of the starchy sugars that I was eating. So January 13th, 2017, I landed on the key that was going to bust my obesity wide open when I visited the Diet Doctor website after Googling hormones and fasting and learned about the fact that these bread, potatoes, pastas were the sugars in my life that were probably keeping me obese. And so that day I decided that would be the last day that I ate those foods. And that's when really the massive weight loss started happening. And it took me about a year. So in January 2018, I got to a healthy weight.
That was 7 years ago yesterday.
Yes, I was, and I celebrated. So
do you?
Oh yeah, I celebrate that.
Not with
And
the pasta dinner, I imagine.
no, not with pasta. No, actually, I made a chicken soup. Like so, it was good. But yes, it's a key day for me because I was so keen on what is going on. Like why I felt like I was sacrificing so much and not losing weight, and I still wanted to heal my fatty liver disease. So I still had lots of questions about my hormones and just learning about the fasting and low carb lifestyle, landing on that website, learning from Diet Doctor, and my favorite health hero doctor on this earth is Dr. Jason Fung. He's a nephrologist in Toronto, and he wrote the book, The Obesity Code. But what I learned from him that night, January 13th, 2017, was that this was not entirely my fault. Like I had been given bad dietary advice for years. Everything in moderation doesn't work for someone like me. And especially, I do confess that I'm a sugar addict, carb addict in recovery, but addiction is a disease that impacts the brain. So setting out by ditching sugar, eliminating my diet of high carbohydrates helped me rewire my brain and quiet those addictive behaviors so that I was able to choose foods that were whole and satisfying and satiating. And I let food be my medicine. And truly, food is what has healed me, the proper food from what I call God's good smorgasbord. No pills, no potions, no more drinking strictly protein shakes for 10 months. I would never do that again. It's not advisable. But yeah, it is really the whole food that helped heal my body.
What was your husband's reaction? He's going up the mountain.
Yeah.
You're sitting here. He obviously thinks his bride is beautiful and would never, he's not taking it the way you're taking it.
Right. And it's really interesting, James, as I coach women, they're just like me in the fact that they don't even really talk about this, the misery and then the defeat that we carry for so many years. Like it's not something, we hold it close to our heart because we feel like this is all our fault. And I want to give any listener out there hope that this is not entirely your fault. I really think that we've been given bad advice and look at the food environment we live in. I mean, you're talking about make Michigan healthy again, make America healthy again. We can do that, but we have to really look at the environments that we live in. So my husband, it was so supportive for so many years. And of course, he loves me as I am. He loved me. I like to say he loved me and he loves me through thick and thin, right? Whatever. When you
were at your thickest, he loved you.
Yeah. He still loved me, yes. But he right now, kind of like me, lives in disbelief that this has happened. Because he likes to talk and share with people about the true, like how not just my physical health has transformed, but my emotional health, my spiritual health, like this new joy. Like I love the name of your podcast, the Enjoyer Podcast. Everything about life now is full of joy that I never could have imagined. And living with a heart of joy, despite any difficult circumstance, it is truly life-changing. Like any situation I face now, I can face it with joy and with resiliency and with grit and with whatever God has put on my heart to share with other people. So my husband is very supportive, still loving me through now the thinner years. And he's my biggest cheerleader. So I'm very grateful for him.
As someone walks this path, let's say someone says, I need to Christine Trimpe, I need to do this. I need to get sugar-freed.
Yes.
What is a good way for their spouse to be supportive?
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of times our spouses don't need the same health journey that we need.
Right.
And like, I just want to make it clear, we're all unique. We all need to figure out what's going to work for us. For women like me and even men like me who have been carrying obesity for any period of time, most likely they are insulin resistant and most likely they are pre-diabetic or going to be diagnosed type 2 diabetic. So a very low carb, low sugar approach to their way of eating will be super impactful. But we have these conversations in my group coaching call all the time because a lot of the women, their husbands just don't completely get it. And they'll still bring things in the house, like the big tray of brownies from Costco, a Costco shopping trip, just things that are not that are just temptations
Because
for
you
them.
know it'll make her smile, but it's just so tough because that smile in the
Mhm.
moment
Mhm.
might be at odds with her long-term plan for herself.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, yes. We've actually had tears in group coaching sessions about this. So it is a really unique individual journey as far as like setting our own personal resolve, learning how to deal with
Mm,
temptation. And my group coaching is a faith-based program. So, we lean on scripture a lot. We lean on the word of God a lot. And no temptation can overcome us because God is faithful. That's in 1 Corinthians 10:13. But it is a challenge. It can be tricky. For the most part, I have not encountered very many people who have people in their lives that are out to sabotage them.
right.
Most people are supportive. But it is a very unique place to be because what had happened in my history is the yo-yo dieting. Like, oh, she's doing it again. Like, here she goes. She's going to lose 40 pounds and then she's going to
Right.
gain 50, right? So yo-yo dieting is a really tough place to be. But you just have to have the personal will and the personal resiliency to continue to push through. Put the noise behind you of what other people are saying about you in your life too. And I hope that you do have a really supportive family because that can make a huge difference. So anybody out there listening that has someone in their life that needs to go through a journey, a health and healing journey like this, just, over show up, like show up more than would be expected in supporting this person.
Right. Now your book drops next week. I wish it would have dropped on that same exact date, but
Yes.
things outside of our control happen in this life.
Right. Yes.
Your book drops next week. It's called Sugarfreed. Stop losing the weight loss battle, start gaining the victory. How'd this all come about?
Oh my goodness. I very early on in my weight loss journey, when you start losing a massive amount of weight, people notice, right? And so
Right.
I had the pleasure, the absolute pleasure to sit down with so many people locally over coffee at a Big B's and just share what they had many questions because what I was doing was nothing that we've ever been told in the past when we go to Weight Watchers, we go to medical weight loss centers and things like that. So it was just on my heart to share with them, not only like practically how this is happening practically, but also like, I cannot believe how much God has changed my life. And what he has done is he's taken me out of a very satisfying corporate career. I loved my career in accountancy. I was a corporate controller for a local physicians organization. So I did that for 32 years, but the strong desire to write and to speak and to coach was put on my life, and I was able to leave corporate a couple of years ago. And so just kind of step by step, I was able to show up with, first of all, those one-on-one coffee chats. And then I started a blog. And then I started, despite my daughter saying, you should be on YouTube, and me saying, no, I do not want to be on YouTube. I eventually did start a YouTube channel. And then my website, like
Young
there's
people
all
tend
kinds.
to win those battles, don't they?
Yes. I was like, daughter, you were correct. It's a great way to reach people
Because
that
it's
don't
the
like.
same thing with this. I was in print for 20
Yes.
years. We
Yes.
have to use the tools God gave us.
Yes.
You have to use your physical face and your physical voice. These things matter. And why
Yes.
not use them?
Right. And showing up on video is a great way to reach people. It shows a vulnerability and an authenticity to the story. Like it shows that I'm a real person. Last week I enrolled a new client, and she said when she came to her call, she thought she was going to be talking to a recording. And I'm like, nope, I'm a real person.
Why'd she take the call?
I don't know. Well, she thought she wanted to learn about my program.
I think people are so thirsty for knowledge that even if they think it's a setup or a scam, they'll still listen.
She said the word skeptical. She was skeptical. I'm like, nope, it's really me.
But she still did it. That blows my mind.
Yeah, she still did it because when I do show up in writing and speaking in my blog, I think I am able to show up for these women. I coach specifically Christian women. I'm able to show up for these women. And it's relatable because I talk about my past a lot, and I call this old Christine. There are so many old Christines walking around out there looking for hope and inspiration. And so I hope that I can inspire them to take that step to to connect with me.
And if you guys are watching on YouTube, we're going to, show that before and after. It is an incredible difference, an incredible distance that you have traveled.
Yes.
What can people do in their everyday lives to be a little bit more sugar-free? What's something is, I mean, it could even be as simple as using less coffee creamer. Well, what's the change that pretty much anyone could do fairly immediately and release from those sugar shackles?
Yes. It's interesting you say coffee, because that was the first thing I gave up. I quit coffee cold turkey.
No.
Yes, because I was
You threw out the baby with the bathwater?
I did, because I was having a little bit of coffee with a whole lot of flavored creamer, sugar creamer. So I thought this is the only way I could do it.
You found your back door to get some sugar. You were determined to get some sugar in your system.
Yeah, I could not fathom drinking black coffee. So I did. If I can ditch coffee completely cold turkey. Now I do drink coffee again. Once my taste buds changed and I don't need sweetener in my coffee, I started drinking coffee again.
Right.
But yes, take it step by step. What can you choose today that is loaded with sugar that you can live without? And then 3 days later, the next choice I made was like, well, there's there's candy all around my corporate office. I worked in an office with a bunch of women, right?
Right.
I swore off the candy. And then a couple days later, I swore off participating in the birthday cake celebrations that happened every week or two in my office, right? We always celebrated with food. So just step by step, and that momentum, like those successes build on each other. And before you know it, like you've busted your sugar cravings. You're not getting daily headaches from sugar rebounds. You have more energy. You're sleeping better. You're feeling really good about yourself. Like, oh my goodness, I don't need this much sugar in my life. And then a really practical step that I love to give is to consider what you're putting in your mouth by shopping just the perimeter of your grocery store.
I've heard that. Yeah.
That's where you're going to find
the real food is on the outer bounds, and the stuff that comes in boxes and all that stuff is all the fake food.
Exactly. All the factory processed, ultra processed foods can be found up and down the aisles. And look how much time you can save in the grocery store too. I zip in and out of the grocery store in record time. The one thing you do have to do though is skip the bakery section. You're going to find that on the perimeter too. And you have to have the resolve to like just cut that corner. Don't go to the bakery section. That's 100% sugar. But yeah, so those are where the wholesome foods are. If you can get as close to eating food that doesn't even really require an ingredient label, like chicken. The ingredient label says chicken, right? Well, just do that. And just watch your health. I fuel up with this fuel every single day. So I'm fueling my body with very low sugar foods. I do eat some low carb vegetables and some low carb fruit occasionally. So I am fueling my body every day with fat because I'm not constantly putting sugar in my body. And I have found in this journey, gaining the increased energy that I have, that sugar is a very inefficient fuel.
Right.
It constantly needs to be replaced. That's why we have the sugar slumps during the day. You eat a big lunch. You go out to lunch with your work buddies and you eat a submarine sandwich and you're snacking on the appetizers. You go back to your office and at 2:00, you want a nap in the worst way.
Right.
That's your body saying, okay, I'm out of fuel. I need more sugar. Give me fuel. So, and that I don't live that way anymore. And I cannot emphasize enough how much more energy I have and how I feel so much better showing up every day as a fat burner because my body is using fat for fuel. And I find that to be much more efficient fuel.
Yeah. I wonder if someone started your journey on September 10th, was it? September 2015. If they started at September 2025. I worry that someone might just say, "Oh, just take Ozempic."
Oh, yes.
Why might it be worthwhile in this? Now you finally have the miracle drug, right? We're always looking for the miracle drug. Why might it be worthwhile to go the long, hard way instead?
Yes. Well, first of all, you can do it naturally with food. Okay. The Ozempic is giving you um, a satiety in your hormonal signals. Okay. But you can do that with food by focusing on
Mm,
protein and healthy fats. You can get the satiation from your meals with food. My concern with the Ozempic and the shots craze that's kind of going on right now is I'm very uncertain about future side effects, and
right.
I just don't feel like it's been tested enough. And I have never been really one to fall for the miracle drugs. Like I could have done that all the years with my yo-yo dieting. I could have, turned to drugs. I could have turned to weight loss surgery, but there was just something in me that knew there had to be a better way. And I see it with whole and wholesome foods as the better way. However, I do
Mm.
also I am not totally against these drugs because I know that doctors are using them to help some people who are perhaps super morbidly obese
Some
and
people have a
need
big
to
problem to attack.
yeah,
Yeah.
people who are really facing their mortality. Like, if you don't do this, you're going to be dead in 2 years or, something like that.
Right.
I do see it being used that way. I'm not completely against it. I'm not a healthcare provider. I'm a Christian health and wellness coach, and I can see a need for it in some regard. But the most important caveat is that if they're going to do that, they have to get their food behaviors down. Right. Like they have to be able to eventually someday stop taking that medication. Are they going to be on it for life? And if they don't change their food behaviors, then that I just see trouble down the road. So would just caution against it
And
and
that's
work.
biblical. Jesus
Yeah.
talked about that, where if you don't stop doing what you're doing,
Yes.
you will
Yeah.
be in a worse position than you were before I saved you. So, um,
Yes. Exactly.
Christine, did you ever confront the Rockies again?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. I've gone back and I conquered that trail up to Nymph Lake. I have a picture of myself standing on the lake. It was frozen. I was there in November.
Mm,
It was such a beautiful thing to go back and do that. And then also, crazily, on another trip to Colorado with my daughter, she encouraged me to climb the Manitou Incline with her, which is in Manitou Springs. It's an extreme hike. I've never done an extreme hike in my life.
mm.
And it is 2,760 stair steps straight up the mountainside. It used to be an old rail line to get equipment up the mountain. And now it's a hiking trail. It's a tourist attraction hiking trail. Oh, my goodness. That was extreme.
I've seen goats climb that high. I don't know how many people I've seen.
Yeah,
Holy
it was.
cow.
Oh, my goodness. It was crazy. But I did it. And I have a picture
You
of
did
me
it?
standing. I did it. I made it to the top. And it was like one of the best moments of my life. And then another mountain I climbed in Ireland. When I got to a healthy weight, I took a dream trip. I wanted to go to Ireland all my life, being an Irish girl.
Mm.
And I didn't want to spend the money to go if I was going to just be stuck in a car and not be able
Right.
to hike or enjoy anything. So finally I get to a healthy weight. My daughter's getting ready to be married. So we go on a mother-daughter trip and we did find some mountains in Ireland, believe it or not. We were in the Wicklow County. We were at Glendalough National Park and we did an 11-mile hike one day. And just being at the summit of that, like me hiking 11 miles is crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. And when we got to the summit of that mountain, we were up there with mountain goats. Like they were within arm's length of us. So it was crazy, incredible, such a blessing. So yes, I love to climb mountains. I climb mountains every opportunity I get now.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
How did you spend your pandemic?
I spent my pandemic, I was still working corporate at the time initially through the first part of it. So I spent it working remotely like everybody else did.
Were you locked down?
Where was I? Was I locked down?
Were you locked down? Are there pictures of you in masks?
Oh, no.
Are there pictures of you with the needle in your arm?
No. I was very fortunate when I did get COVID because of my metabolic health. I had very little symptoms from it.
Yes.
Tired. I was very extremely tired. And I don't experience exhaustion anymore. So I knew. And then the only other symptom I had was a drippy nose. So I got over that very quickly. I was, that whole thing, like you did in the introduction, it's like, in hindsight, it's like, what a mind game that was.
When you say
right?
it out loud, the
Yeah.
idea that some lady who works in Lansing, has a health plan for 10 million people.
Yes.
Say it out loud.
Yeah.
No one could ever believe that.
Right. It is crazy now to think about it. And I worked for a physician organization at the time too. So we were like the people, I was an accountant, I was the controller, so I didn't have to deal with all the healthcare issues, but the organization was busily trying to fulfill the needs that were all around. And I'm just like trying to pay for it from the budget.
And we just decide that as a society, there's no other illness. Cancer, let's take a backseat to COVID. Just no other human need matters. The only thing that could matter on the whole planet of 8 billion people is a single virus that 99.x% of people survive. What did you make? I mean, as someone who took so much responsibility for your health by that point, what did you make of the hysteria and seeing people ask for the government to keep them safe?
Oh, man, it's still, when I think about it, it's still heartbreaking to me. I'm very active in the low carb X community. So this is talked about a lot. And it's just, it still breaks my heart because did we learn any lessons out of that? A lot of people did learn lessons, but as a whole,
I don't know that we did.
Yeah. Well, the people in the low carb X community are pretty vocal about it, but we still have a lot to do. We still have a lot of work to do. And I love the introduction you gave about indicating that this really is we all need to take personal responsibility for our health. I'm super excited about the Make America Healthy movement. I'm excited that people are talking about it, that doors are going to open, that things are going to possibly change. But really, it comes down to individual responsibility. No one can make me put different food in my mouth. I can't put different food in people's mouths. But just the opportunity to keep spreading the news and the word of, what lessons we did learn from that time period. Hopefully we can reiterate them and maybe more people's light bulb moments. That's when I was sitting on the side of that mountain and I knew I needed to take ownership of my health. That was really a light bulb moment for me. So I just keep praying that people's eyes and ears will be open to improving their health for their longevity, which is another thing that you were talking about in the introduction. I feel I want to, before, when I lived in my misery, I never felt like I had a purpose in life. And now I know that that's not true. I know that God, especially those of us who are followers of faith, God created us for a purpose. He has a calling on our life. We're here for a reason. And so I always say that when we show up, God gets to show off. So I'm encouraging the women to come with me. When we show up for our good health, we get to point others to their purpose in life, and God gets to show off in our stories. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that I'd be sitting here on a podcast episode with you, James, I would have laughed in your face.
Really?
Because I'm an introvert. I'm a recovering introvert. Now I say I'm an extroverted introvert because God has called me to speak and write about these things, this issue.
And right there, since Moses, I can't talk too good. And
right.
But when he puts that call into you, suddenly you have the words. Suddenly you have the bravery to do it.
Yes. Yeah. And I have such a passion on my heart for the fitness of the church. Well, the fitness of all people, right? But specifically the fitness of the church, because I know how I used to live, very nominally, very apathetically. And I'm not just talking about physical fitness. I'm talking about emotional fitness, that when things like a global pandemic happens, how do we respond to that? How do we deal with that? Are we strong enough to, see the truth, see our way through it? And then, of course, spiritual fitness being the biggest thing that's on my heart, because, I don't live spiritually apathetic anymore. I have a true hunger and a true thirst for doing what God has called me to do, for his word, for just his people. And that's another thing about me. As an introvert, I wasn't much of a people person. And now, like, I get talk to people all day, every day.
Right.
And it's just amazing to me. It's
Right.
amazing. So, yeah, I never expected to be here in a million years.
Christine, we'll get you out of here on this one. What can people do right now to get that health buttoned up so that when there's the next pandemic or the next thing to fear, they don't have to live in that fear, and they don't have to ask some governor who lives in Lansing or some president who lives in Washington to make the world safer for them, to provide the bubble wrap? What can people be doing here and now?
Yes, definitely pursuing their health, their whole holistic health, in body, mind, and spirit. And for me, that means like I had a daily discipline when I started setting out on this health journey, was to spend time reading God's word, which is like the air that I breathe now. It's my daily delight. And for those of faith that maybe are living in fear, living with anxiety, you can find your peace and joy there. And it can sustain you through any crazy circumstance, day in and day out. Also, to pursue emotional health. Like, I think we are living in a world surrounded by people, a ton of anxious people, right, James?
Yes.
There's like so much anxiety, and
Yes.
you know, our digital age contributes to that. But if we can, you know, set the digital stuff aside, get some peace every single day, pursue joy, just live in that peace and joy. It really helps quiet the mind. And those of you that are like me and may be a sugar or food addict, cleaning up the way you eat will quiet that mind too, and it will usher in a new peace that will surpass your understanding. And then physical health, like the tips I've given about shopping the perimeter and cutting things out day by day. It's going to help you reverse your chronic disease. And it will just help you show up stronger, fitter. Like, you will get to the point where I believe that your health is going to change 95% based on what you put in your mouth. And then the 5% is that movement piece. And once you start feeling better, you're going to want to move your body. And so you'll just be so delighted to be able to go out and go to the gym or go for a walk or go for a hike in the mountains. Putting it all together, putting all those pieces together can really set you free.
Beautiful.
Sugar-free.
Sugarfreed, exactly. Christine, where can people learn more about yourself and Sugarfreed?
Yes. Well, my book, Sugarfreed, don't forget the D on the end of it. It's a word that I made up. So it's Sugarfreed. You can grab that on Amazon. I also have a free chapter excerpt for you from my chapter called Craving All the Wrong Things, which I did for 30 long years. And so it presents some questions for you to explore that. And then my website, which is just my name, ChristineTrimpe.com, you can actually grab the free sample on there. And I think, James, you're probably going to put stuff in the show notes, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you can find the links there. But I am all over social media by my name. So connect with me in many different ways. And also, I think it indicated something earlier that made me want to share this. When my book launches on January 21st, 2025, be ready for my challenge that I'm going to be issuing this year. And I am going to challenge people to lose 25 pounds in 2025.
Oh, I love it.
It's a great place to start. Many of us would be fit and trim again if we lost 25 pounds. And for others that were like me, 100 pounds or more overweight, it's a good place to start.
It's a good chunk toward the problem, right? So
Yes, exactly.
Very cool. Well, Christine, thank you for your time. This conversation's been a blessing, and I know it's going to reach so many people. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to help you make Michigan healthy again.